Mazal tov. You look very handsome. Yes, that's right. That's younger sister. I don't. Just it's terrible. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Welcome in. Let's gather and invite Sophia to the bima. Welcome. Let's open our Sidurim to begin our morning prayers. Welcome to those who are here in person and those who are joining us remotely. We'll begin on page 141 in the Sidur. Come and stand in the center.
Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael va'ani berov chastecha avo b'techa Eshtachaveh El heichal kodecha be'iratecha Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha kol mishkan kevodecha va'ani אשתחווה ואכרע אברכה לפני אדוני עושי.
Final line.
ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון Elohim berov chastecha ani be'emet ishecha.
We'll continue now with the morning blessings, beginning on page 153. It's a custom to rise together as we're able and respond to each of these brachot, amen, as Sophia leads us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim ha'ma'avir sheina me'enai u'tnuma me'afapai.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim hanoten l'sachvi bina le'achvin vein yom uvein laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim rokah ha'aretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim pokeach ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim zokef kefufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim hamechin mitzadei gaver.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim she'asa li kol tzarki.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim she'asani betzalmo.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim she'asani bat chorim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chei ha'olamim hanoten le'aef koach.
Amen. Continue from our seats. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. 163. Asher yatzaret ha'adam b'chokhmah. Baruch atah Adonai rofecho basar mafli la'asot. 165. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama שנתת בי טהורה היא. אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא. אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא. אתה בראת, אתה יצרת, אתה נפחת בי. נתלה ממני לחיי עולם 167 כל זמן שהנשמה בקרבי מודה אני לפניך אדוני אלוהי ואלוהי. ברוך אתה אדוני אשר בידו נפש כל חי ורוח כל בשר. We'll turn ahead now to page 177 to make our way into these verses of preparation and ask you, Sophia, to lead us.
Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam.
Baruch Hu.
Baruch oseh v'reshit.
Baruch Shemo.
Baruch omer ve'oseh.
Baruch Hu.
Baruch gozer umekayem.
Baruch Shemo.
Baruch merachem al haaretz.
Baruch Hu.
Baruch merachem al habriyot.
Baruch Shemo.
Baruch meshalem sachar tov l'reya.
Baruch Hu.
Baruch ma'avir afela umevi yora.
Baruch Shemo.
Baruch ela'al v'kayam lanetzach.
Baruch Hu.
Baruch podeh umatzil.
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. 181 Yachid Chei Ha'olamim Melech Meshubach U'Mefaradei Ad Shemo Agadol. Baruch Ata Adonai Melech Mehulal Batishbachot. We're going to turn ahead this morning to page 231. We have such a wonderful full morning today with many more verses of Psalms to chant later in the morning. So we're going to go ahead now to that final Psalm in all of the Psalms, page 231, and we're listening for your melody, Sophia.
Hallelujah el bet kodsho. Hallelujah birkiozo. Hallelujah biguratav. Hallelujah kerov gudlo. Hallelujah b'tzeva shofar. Hallelujah b'nevel b'chinor. Hallelujah b'tov u'machol. Hallelujah b'nidim v'ugav. Hallelujah b'tzitzilei shama. Hallelujah b'tzitzilei trua. Kol hanshama haleluya. Hallelujah. Kol hanshama haleluya.
Hallelujah. Baruch Adonai leolam. Amen ve'amen. Baruch Adonai mitzion. Shochen Yerushalayim. Hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisrael. Oseh niflaot levado. Baruch Shem kevodo וימלא כבודו את כל הארץ. אמן ואמן. יישר כוחך, Sophia. We will ask you back here again. You can have a seat with your family.
Page 247. With much else to look forward to, we move to the main body of the morning prayer. The first time that a minyan is required, we welcome the minions on Zoom and the minions in the room. We rise in body or in spirit. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Ruach HaOlam Yotzer Or Uvorech Choshech Oseh Shalom Uvorech Et HaKol. We may be seated. In the section of the service focused on the universal, we acknowledge our humanity and our being a part of the creation even before we say anything about the unique covenants of Torah. First and foremost, we are part of the world around us, and we celebrate God as the creator of the great lights, the anchor of the ecosystem, the creator of all, who wants us to be co-creators and protectors of that which has been made. 253, English transliteration on 255, the hymn that says it all. El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim baruch umvorach befi kol neshama godlo v'tuvo male olam da'at u'tvuna sovavim odo hamikahe al chayot hakodesh v'nedar bechavod al merkava zechut u'mishor lifnei chiso Chesed v'rachamim lifnei chevodo, tovim meorot shebara Eloheinu, yetzaram beda'at, bevina ufaskel, koach ugvura natan bahem, liot moshlim bekerev tevel, maleim ziv umvikim noga, na'ezivam bechol haolam, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים בהם הרצון קונם. פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, ראה והתקין צורת הלבנה, שבח נותנים לו, כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ואופנים, שרפים ואופנים, וחיות הקודש, ילאי, 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 Page 269. Matzmiach Shavuot, Borei Refuot, Norati Lot Adonai Niflaot, the one who renews in divine goodness every day, always, the work of creation. Ka'amur le'aserim gedolim ki le'olam chasto. Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizkechu lanu b'mera le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer hameorot. Later, Sophia will pick up on these themes of the universal and our connection with nature in her Devar Torah. Right now, we invite her back up to lead us in the next liturgical unit, the themes of love and Torah and oneness, page 273, leading us into the Shema.
Ahava Rabbav Tanu Adonai Eloheinu Chema Gedola V'Tzera Chamalta Aleinu Avinu Malkeinu Ba'avor Avotenu Me'imotenu Shebatchu Becha Avinu Malkeinu
למדם חוקי חיים,
כן תחננו תלמדנו, אבינו האב הרחמן, המרחם רחם עלינו, ותן בליבנו להבין, ולהשכיל לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות, ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה. והערנו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבנו באהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש, ולא ניכלם, ולא ניכשל, לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. Gathering together our four corners. And we'll continue together the latter part of page 275. והביאנו בשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו. כי יבוא ישועות אתה, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת, סלע באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen.
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושינתם לבניך ודיברתם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ושוכבך וקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We'll continue quietly on our own for these middle passages of the Shema. and then join together for the closing paragraph. ולימדתם אותם. למען ירבו ימיכם וימי בניכם על האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיכם לתת להם כימי השמיים על הארץ. page 285. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת להם תעשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וראיתם אותו זכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We'll turn ahead now to page 291. Please join with me in this connection to our freedom story, which will then lead us into the morning Amidah.
תהילות ליל עליון ברוך ומבורך משה ומרים ובני ישראל הכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא תהילות אוסף פלא שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך שפתיים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ופתחי נאומך יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני ישראל. 295 אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי שרה אלוהי יצחק אלוהי רבקה אלוהי יעקב אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומר חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני רב להושיע מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה כל חי ברחמים רבים, ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות כל חי. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה כל חי. 303. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר. קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנסים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. Page 305. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי תמלוך בציון. בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון, תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה, תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. ועינינו תראנה, תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם בעת כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Time now for our own quiet prayers, following those verses here in the prayer book, or just taking time for our own meditations. Zaki. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable unto you, my God. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al yoshvei tevel. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. This morning is special for so many different reasons. We have two wonderful smachot celebrations to celebrate with two amazing families in our community. And we also have the chance as a whole community, as a people, to celebrate the beginning of the Hebrew month of Elul, that month that anticipates the Jewish New Year season. And so our tradition has packed it with all kinds of opportunities to help us get ourselves ready. And so one of those is to say Hallel, as we do each month at the change of the months, but maybe especially in a month as this one. I was so fascinated to look at the Psalm for Elul, Psalm 27, which we're going to chant later this morning, and be reminded of this lovely little thing that happens at the end of the Psalm for Elul. We have that word lule, lule he'emanti. I wrote about this, so maybe some people have seen it. The word lule, which is like, it's a good thing I believe in life, is the opposite of Elul. It's the same letters as Elul. It's to say to us, this is the time to reaffirm our belief in life, our faith in life, and to celebrate the goodness in this life. So I ask you to join me. Let's turn to page 357 in the Siddur. The Psalms of Hallel are traditionally chanted in Hebrew, which we will do, but I really want to invite us all this morning, whatever language we speak, to find our way to this practice of celebration and joy. It's custom to stand for these Psalms, page 357. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et Hallel. Page 359, hallelujah, hallelujah, Avdei Adonai, hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Yishem Adonai mevorach, me'ata ve'ad olam, mekimim me'afarda, me'ashpot yarim evion, le'hoshivim nedivim, im nedive amo, moshivi akeret habayit, Em habanim smecha, hallelujah. 361, Beit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez, Beit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez, Hayta Yehuda lekodsho, Yisrael mamshelotav, Hayam ra'av hayanos hayarden, Yisov le'achor, Beit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez, E'arim rakedu che'elim, Gevaot kivnei tzon, Malecha hayam kitanus, hayarden tisov le'achor, Beit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez, Beit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez, Malecha hayam kitanus, hayarden tisov le'achor, eharim tirkedu chelim, gevaot kivnei tzon, milifnei Adon, chuli 65 in the middle. Adonai zacharanu yevarech, yevarech et Beit Yisrael, yevarech et Beit Aharon, yevarech yirei Adonai, הקטנים עם הגדולים, יוסף אדוני עליכם, עליכם ובניכם, ברוכים אתם לאדוני, עושה שמיים וארץ, השמיים שמיים לאדוני, והארץ נתן לבני אדם, לא מתים יהללויה, ולא כל יורדי דומה, ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah. Skipping to 369, last 3 lines. לך אזבח זבח תודה ובשם אדוני אקרא, נדרה לאדוני אשלם, נגדנה לכל עמו, בחצרות בית אדוני, בתוכך ירושלים, הללויה. 371. הללויה את אדוני, כל גויים שבחו, שבחו, כל האומים, כי גבר עלינו, עלינו חסדו באמת, אדוני לעולם הללויה, הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו, יומנה 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 ישראל, כי לעולם חסדו, הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו, יאמרו נא בית אהרון, כי לעולם חסדו, הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו, יאמרו נא יראה אדוני כי לעולם חסדו, הודו לאדוני כי לעולם חסדו. 373. מן המצר קראתיה, ענני במרחביה, מן המצר קראתיה, ענני במרחביה, ענני במרחביה, ענני במרחביה. 373, last line. עוזי וזמרתיה, ויהי לישועה. עוזי
וזמרתיה ויהי לישועה עוזי וזמרתיה ויהי לישועה עוזי וזמרתיה ויהי לישועה עוזי וזמרתיה ויהי לישועה. 375, third line down. לא אמות כי אחיה ואספר מעשיה יעשו ישרניה ולמוות לא נתנני פיתחו לי שערי צדק אבובם אודיה פיתחו לי שערי צדק אבובם אודיה זה השם לאדוני צדיקים יבואו בו זה השם לאדוני צדיקים יבואו בו. 377 עודך כי הניצני ותהי לי לישועה עודך כי הניצני ותהי לי לישועה אבן מסו הבונים הייתה לראש פינה אבן מסו הבונים הייתה לראש פינה מת אדוני הייתה זאתי נפלאת בינינו מת אדוני הייתה זאתי נפלאת בינינו זה היום עשה אדוני נגילה ונשמחה בו זה היום עשה אדוני נגילה ונשמחה בו אנא אדוני הושיענה אנא אדוני הושיענה אנא אדוני הצליחנה אנא אדוני הצליחנה. 379 ברוך הבא בשם אדוני ברכנוכם מבית אדוני אל אדוני ויער לנו ישרו חג באבותים עד קרנות המזבח אלי אתה ועודך אלוהי ארוממך אלי אתה ועודך אלוהי ארוממך
טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. כי לך הטוב להודות, ולשמך נאה לזמר, כי מעולם עד עולם אתה אל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך מעולם, ותשבחות. Continue with the full Kaddish. Please be seated, as is your custom. יתכהדה ויתכהדה שמי שמי רבה, ועלמדי ורחירותי, והמליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון, ובחייתכו בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יש מרבה מבורך, ועל עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויצעדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה, בשירתה תושבחתה, ונחמתה דמירן בעמה, ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותון ובאותהון דכל בית ישראל, קודם אבוהון בבשמיא, ואמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמיה וחיים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. So wish ourselves Chodesh Tov, a good month. It's a delight to welcome Jody and Adam and Sophia to the Bima, for these parents to present their blessing to their child.
Okay, deep breaths. You're doing so great. So Sophia, we are so proud of you. We are proud of your preparations and your hard work for your bat mitzvah, but more importantly, we're proud of the person that we have watched you become. As we're thinking about this milestone, we had so many wonderful thoughts because, you know, you're awesome and cool. But we only have a few minutes, so we're just going to highlight a few really Sophia things that we admire and share our blessings and our wishes for you as you grow and continue to put your mark on the community and the world. So Sophia, you have a spark within you that shines so brightly. You're attuned to who you are, what you think, and what you want to do. You have initiative and confidence and an inner wisdom that is really beyond your years. When you want to try something new, you just do it. So for example, I remember when you decided to go on your first bike ride alone, and you didn't just go around the neighborhood, but you disappeared for about an hour and you biked all the way to your friend's neighborhood to surprise your friend, but you never found your destination. You still came home and you're really proud of your journey and your adventure and your independence. When you decide you want to write a song, you come and ask for music paper, you ask for a journal to write down songs and stories, your own thoughts and ideas, and importantly, your openness and confidence drives you. You also know when to move on, even when others are skeptical. I remember you took ballet for 5 years and we really wanted you to continue, but you knew you were done and ready to try new things. And sure enough, the space you opened up allowed you to branch out, and you've tried hip hop and you've really been enjoying Israeli dance. Sophia, stay confident in your thoughts and decisions, and you will continue to share the best of yourself and what makes you special in the world.
Brings us to your creativity. Do you,
To the mic.
Sophia, do you remember telling us some mornings that you didn't want to get out of bed because you were in the middle of making up a story in your head? Now we see those stories come out as beautifully detailed writings for school. And you're proving Albert Einstein was right when he explained creativity is intelligence, having fun. Whether it's your movie making, baking, inventing, drawing, singing, songwriting, dancing, choreographing, storytelling, acting, we truly admire the fun you have with your intelligence and the joy that brings to you and others. Sophia, keep following your creative mind because it will help you express yourself, engage with others, and address challenges. And finally, you show care for others. We regularly witness acts of thoughtfulness and generosity from you toward others, including family, even your brother, friends, and animals, not only pets, but wildlife. People's impact on wildlife has concerned you since you were really little. And as you considered your Tikkun Olam project and your Parsha's teaching, you focused on it, as we'll hear from you later. Sophia, the way you care for and look out for others is very special. Follow what you believe is right, even if the trees you plant sometimes seem slow to bear fruit. Raising you blesses us, bringing not just joy to us, but fun and optimism.
We love you. We always will love you. We will always continue to teach you and to learn from you and help you as much as we can. Mazel tov on your buttons.
Mazel tov.
And she already had to correct us. It wasn't her first boyfriend.
Keep on biking. Yeah. We invite Sophia's aunts, Naomi and Melissa, to join us as we prepare to take the Torah through the community.
Turn now to the Torah service, page 383.
אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך. מלכותך מלכות כל עמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוז לעולם
Page 393, Sophia will lead us. We respond.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Everyone just face towards the ark.
Gadol Adonai
You do?
Sophia, Yishar Kochech, you can be seated once again and we'll call you back up.
So, good Shabbos. Welcome to Parshat Re'eh. Timely, because there's been a little bit of debate in the larger world this week about whether people should be saddled with massive debt for decades and struggle under the burden, or whether it's cool to release it and see what happens. Torah has some pretty clear thoughts on this matter, and they happen to be not only in Parshat Re'eh, but in the part that we are reading, in the chapter that we are reading, Deuteronomy 15. And as such, I had already written a piece that was in the Washington Jewish Week, which I don't expect that you all read, but The theme for mine was the debt release element of this 7th year observance of the Shemitah. And we're going to hear a lot more about Shemitah today, not from me, but from Sophia, who is going to ground it in the original context, which is that of cessation of agriculture. Really, the most basic level, returning to the land and to each other and to our center. The part that I'm sharing is focused on this debt relief angle, and a shout out to Audrey Lyon for a beautiful Devar Torah at the board meeting that overlapped. I'm going to share the piece from the Jewish Week and a little piece additional from David Seidenberg, a rabbi in Massachusetts, who has a beautiful angle on this as an introduction. If you want to follow along in Deuteronomy 15, you can find that in page 1269 of the new Plaut Chumash, which is got the graphic on the front, or 1440 in the old. Deuteronomy 15, just gonna hit a couple of the highlights from the opening. And it just went away. Well, starting at chapter 1, but it's all good. And I had it and it went away, and this is the danger of the modern era of Devar Torah-ing. There we go. Make a radical release. Miket sheva shanim ta'aseh shmita. You shall make a shmita, a radical release. This parsha invites us to consider what we might be unhealthily clinging to. What's hard to let go, even though it scarcely serves us or others? What modes of thought, patterns of behavior, structures of society do we hold onto that actually hold us back? Deuteronomy, Moses' long farewell, invites a fresh start if we make better choices than our ancestors, than our old selves. This time, we'll uphold that covenant. We'll appreciate, not kvetch. We'll think of others, not just ourselves. We read this right before the days of awe, a time ripe with reconsiderations and fresh starts. Each new year is a golden opportunity for ourselves and those around us. And at the end of every 7th year, verse 1, you shall make a Shemitah, a radical release. We learned back in Exodus 23 and Leviticus 25, as Sophia will teach, that sabbatical years are breathers for the land itself, time for our own rest and renewal. Here they emerge as economic as well as ecological. The Shemitah, or release, described in Re'eh is debt remission. No usury, no gouging, no anyone falling too far behind. No mounting intergenerational inequities that constrain entire lifetimes by skin color or zip code. Quote, verse 4, there shall be no needy among you. The ideal is clear. Ephes ki lo yeh b'cha evyon. Torah's ideal is attainable if we internalize and implement its values. But until then, verse 7, if there is a needy person among you, you mustn't harden your heart nor shut your hand from your needy kin. After all, some of what appears as yours is really theirs. Found a beautiful 18th century Moroccan commentary, the Or HaChaim, who says, way before Karl Marx, sometimes that which is due to the poor has been entrusted by God to the rich instead. And all their riches are in truth a collection of what originally had been allocated to the poor. When the rich person keeps this in mind, they will never begrudge any support extended to the poor. We should be generous by nature. As verse 10 says, give readily and have no regrets when doing so. This will undergird that fresh start we need as a covenantal society. This time we'll appreciate and share. This time we'll focus on others. And in being less self-centered, we will uplift ourselves. And those intergenerational inequities that we've let fester for far too many Shemitah-less cycles, this fresh start will finish them off. As civil rights legend Fannie Lou Hamer taught, nobody is free till everyone's free. Injustice and inequality harm all, including we who may cling too tightly to what is not rightly ours. The Torah's very next lines make this clear in ancient idiom. Even if you own an enslaved person, quote, this is verse 12 and 14, in the 7th year you shall set them free, and when you set them free, do not let them go empty-handed. Furnish them from the flock, threshing floor, and vat with which God has blessed you. Inequities will exist, but they must be time limited. Those once disadvantaged must have true equality of opportunity. Old patterns and structures must be released, and yes, reparations must be made to the oppressed and the wronged. For anyone to enjoy a fresh start, everyone must get that chance. Unless this sound too dreamy, too modern, too, quote, political to really be Torah, our section continues, verse 15, recall that you were slaves in the land of Egypt. V'zacharta ki eved hayita be'eretz Mitzrayim. Therefore, right, and God, your God redeemed you. Therefore, I enjoin this commandment upon you this day. History and Torah align. We must release what's unjust and unsustainable in order to release ourselves. Before the short end of this Devar, a short piece from Rabbi David Seidenberg on a key detail at the beginning of this section, asking, why did cancellation of debts happen at the end of the Shemitah year rather than the beginning? The Shemitah year encompassed observances lasting a year and a half, from before Shemitah starts to Hakel, when the people would gather in Jerusalem to hear Torah read aloud on the Sukkot following Shemitah. Only the release of debts happens at the exact end of the Shemitah year, which is 1 lunar month from today, Rosh Hashanah. And if we imagine what Shemitah felt like in the land of Israel back in the day, it's easy to understand why. People lived in close community. They shared food freely. They opened fences to wild animals, lived close to the earth. During Shemitah, anyone, rich or poor, could enter any field to take what they needed, enough for their families, not enough to hoard or sell. Over the course of a Shemitah year, people could taste what a classless society might be like. So by the time Shemitah ended, it would be abundantly clear how life's sweetness comes not from hoarding resources, but from living in equality. The end of the year was the moment for canceling debts, because that was when this release would feel like liberation, not just for the debtors, but for everyone. Reb David and I end in the same place. This is about release for everyone. Again, end of mine, we must release what's unjust and unsustainable to ultimately release ourselves. Every new year, and certainly, quote, at the end of every 7th year, which is now upon us. May this Rosh Hashanah, ending Shemitah year 5782, be a fresh start for all in the year ahead. Ken Yehi Ratzon. So as we turn to Parshat Re'eh, we'll begin just a little before where I announced, but starting near the end of Deuteronomy 14 at verse 22, which will be on 1268 or 1439. Right before continuing with those Shemitah passages, let's note that this weekend marks that fresh start for two very special people as they complete their COVID-era wedding and celebrate with loved ones, and a fresh phase of life for a bat mitzvah and her family, including the now, or in 10 minutes, 4 adult Daniels family in this front row. It's happening. First, a delight to call up the parents of bride and groom. Vayazor v'egen v'yashir l'chol ha'chosim bo v'nomar. Amen. Hakol ha'vogad aleinu nechavod la'torah. Ye'amdu, Marcia and Kevin and Lily and David. Akiva Yosef ben Shalom v'nechama Yehudit v'malka Geula bat Yisrael Leib v'bat Esther v'David ben Zev v'Tziona v'Lily bat Tzvi v'Rut l'Aliyah Rishona. Baruch Shem Shem Torah L'Amo Yisrael B'Kedushato.
V'atem b'Elokim Adonai Lechem. Chaim Bochem Hayom.
Again, Deuteronomy 14:22, bottom of 1268,
Right where I'm
or
pointing,
top
David.
of 1439.
Tally, that's right there. No, I'm reading.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirvanu la'avodato, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Aseh et kol tevuat zarecha hayotzei hasadeh shana shana. ואכלת לפני אדוני אלוהיך במקום אשר יבחר לשכן שמו שם. מסר דגנך תירושך ויצריך ובכורות בקרך וצונך, למען תלמד לידע את אדוני אלוהיך כל הימים, תחיה בימיך הדרך. דרך כי לא תוכל שאתו, כי ירחק ממך המקום אשר יבחר אדוני אלוהיך לשום שמו שם, כי יברך אדוני אלוהיך. ונתתי בכסף, וצרת הכסף בידך, והלכה אל המקום אשר יבחר אדוני אלוהיך בו, ונתת הכסף בכל אשר תאווה נפשך, בבקר ובצאן וביין ובשיכר ובכל אשר תשלח על נפשך, ואכלת שם לפני אדוני אלוהיך, ושמחת אתה וביתך. והלוי אשר בשעריך לא תעזבנו, כי אין לו חלק ונחלה עמך. מקצה 3 שנים הוציא את כל מסר תבואתך בשנה ההיא, והנחת בשעריך. והלוי כי אין לו חלק ונחלה עמך, והגר והיתום והאלמנה אשר בשעריך, ואכלו ושבעו, למען יברכך אדוני אלוהיך בכל מעשה ידך אשר תעשה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Mazel tov to all these parents.
Just one quick word of logistics. We are so happy to be able to share this wonderful simcha with Sophia and her family. There's been candy distributed for both of the simchot. If it's Israeli candy, you throw it at this time. If it's the sun-kissed candy, please save it so that not all of the candy is thrown now and there's still candy left for Sophia.
Help everyone. Right on. We will properly announce and celebrate Karen and Ellie in a moment. First, the Shemitah readings from Parshat Re'eh, the Torah's ultimate statement of economic justice, chapter 15, verse 1.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach. Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kelvanu la'avodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. מקץ 7 שנים תעשה שמיטה, וזה דבר השמיטה שמות. כל בעל מה שידו, אשר ישב ברעהו, לא יגוש את רעהו ואת אחיו, כי קרא שמיטה לאדוני. את הנחרית יגוש, ואשר יהיה לך, את אחיך תשמט ידיך. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Kevin, you can stay. It's okay. All right, clergy are just going to stand here and say quickly while you hold your fire, what a pleasure it is to have this come to fruition. This very long wedding season drawn out by COVID that began on Zoom in a Haifa apartment with some of us, but not all of us. And the idea that we get to now complete the loop and that you will stand under the chuppah tomorrow in the presence of a full circle of family and friends is such a joy for all of us. And that you would spend the morning before with us means a great deal. It is our honor to bless you.
Mazel tov. Ellie and Karen. A gift for you, for your home, for your library. Teachings on our tradition. Here, come over. Teachings on our tradition and on the mighty task of helping this tradition to evolve forward, to answer some of the problems that we face as human beings today and as members of the Jewish people today by the great Art Green. I want to offer a Misha Berach for you both to affirm this most amazing and blessed union. Misha Berach, Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, v'imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yivarech את אלי מאיר בן עקיבא יוסף המלכה גאולה, ואת קרן בת דוד ולילי, אשר בקרוב יחזיקו בברית הנישואים. יתמיד אלוהים אהבת גלולותיהם, יברכם ויפרם ונחת ירבם, ויהי ביתם אשר יבנו בישראל, משכן אהבה, משכן אמונה, משכן צדקה. נווה שלום וקדושה, ונאמר אמן. May the home that you build together in the community of Israel and among the people of the world be a place of love and faith, a sanctuary of peace and holiness, and a place of justice. And let's say amen. Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel
Pages back. Okay, continuing with the third aliyah, we're at chapter 15, verse 4.
And transitioning in our simchas as well.
Okay, so Ya'amdu Eli, Esther Tzviya bat Yosef Shoshana, Mel Moshe Shmuel ben Shulam Chana, Martha Mata Abrahana bat Avram Chana, Howard Hanoch Henach ben Nacham Yitzchak Gamaliel, and Sandra, Sophia's grandmother. The Aliyah Hashlishit.
Hold this up.
Have you all with us? And it's a birthday also? It is, right? Yes. Yeah. While everybody is making their way up to the Torah, we should also note that it is Mel's birthday, and I won't say the number, but he can if you would like.
Yes,
It's very propitious for a mitzvah. Deuteronomy 15:4, continuing in the reading.
Start now?
Yes, please.
Rafu et Adonai habarach,
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai habarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Efes ki lo yihye becha evyon ki varechecha Adonai ba'aretz asher Adonai Elohecha noten lecha nechala lerishtaha rak im shemo tishma bekol Adonai Elohecha lishmor lasot et kol hamitzvah hazot asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom, ki Adonai Elohecha barechecha, kasher diber lach, v'ha'avadeta goyim rabim, Ve'ata lo tavot umashalta begoyim rabim uvecha lo yimshalu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu koach emet v'chayei olam notah b'sofenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Way to go, Jonah. Thank you. Going to pause in the reading for the Mishaberach Lecholim. And if anyone wants to be seated for a few minutes, feel free, but we'll be standing here for the next Aliyah. This is our moment to invite the name or names of those in need of healing, physical, spiritual, or emotional. Online, you're welcome to use the chat, though we won't be reading those aloud. And in the room, if you would like to stand, maybe grab a hand or shoulder near you as we are all in this prayer together. And we say the name or names as loud as we can. Yeah.
My mother, my brother, and my son-in-law.
Okay. Tina. Thank you. Thank you. Mama. And about Penina.
We're very grateful to Hashem for this very special opportunity. And we wish for everybody to have good health, happiness, clearness of mind, and good mazel in a good world. And we're very grateful for this moment today.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mishaberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Refuah shlema to all. And the bat mitzvah unfolds. Yeah.
So we move on to the fourth Aliyah, which is chapter 15, verse 7. And we call to the Torah, Ya'amdu, Abraham Shlomo ben Hanoch bemetal, Yonina Dorabat Moshe Esther Aliyah Harevi'i.
I'm sorry. Page 1270 in the middle, or in the old Plout 1441 at the top. Be generous to the needy.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirvanu la'avodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Kyrie Becha Evion Mechad Achecha Be'achad Sherecha Be'artzecha Asher Adonai Elohecha Noten Lach Lo Te'amet Et Levacha Ve'lo Tikpot Et Yadecha Me'achicha Ha'evion Kifato achtivtach et yadcha lo beha'avet ta'avitenu de machzoro asher yichzar lo yisamer lecha penihye davar im levavcha v'liyah lemor kerva snata seva snata shmita Bera'encha ve'achicha ha'evion ve'lo titen lo ve'kara alecha el Adonai ve'haya becha chet naton titen lo ve'lo yera levavcha betitzcha lo ki biglal hadavar hazeh Yevarechecha Adonai Elohecha bechol mislach yad bechol maasecha uvchol mislach yadecha ki lo yichtal evyan mikerev haaretz al ken anochi mitzavecha lemor patoach tiftach et yadcha Chicha la'aniecha ule'evyonecha be'artzecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Mazal Tov, appreciating this tableau of 3 generations. What a gift. All right. Mazel Tov, everyone. You may be seated and you can stand back here. We acknowledged earlier that it is Rosh Chodesh Elul as we begin the penitential month that leads us to Rosh Hashanah and that fresh start that we've been talking about. As we prepare to lift and wrap the first of our 3 Torahs, the Torahs too deserve a fresh start. So Matt and Audrey, bevakasha.
Yamod, Hamaviah v'tamot, Hagolelet, v'sefer Rishon. When the Torah is lifted, please, if you're able, stand.
Vezot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael Elohi Adonai v'yad Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah,
tziva lanu Moshe, Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Torah tziva lanu Moshe.
Okay, so for the maftir reading, we are moving to an entirely different part of the Torah. This is for the special reading because it is Rosh Chodesh. So if you have the newer version of the Chumash, which has the little picture on the front, we will be on page 1082. And if you have the older version of the Chumash, which does not have that picture on it, we will be on page 1211. And this is Numbers, verse 28, chapter, verse 9. There we go. Okay.
Tamot, Tamot, Habachura bat HaMitzvah, Shira Rachel bat Abraham Shlomo Vionina Drora, Machtira Hiskit.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kerbanu la'avodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Uveyom haShabbat nechvasim b'nei shana tmimim u'shnei esronim. Salat mincha belulav hashemen b'nisko olat Shabbat b'Shabbato al olat hatamid b'niska uverashe chodshechem takrivu olah l'Adonai parim b'nei vakar snaim be'ayil echad kvasim b'nei shana shivat mimim u'shlosha esronim. So let mincha belulav hashemen lapar ha'echad u'shnei esronim. So let mincha belulav hashemen la'ayil ha'echad ve'isaron isaron. So let mincha belulav hashemen la'keves ha'echad ha'echad ola reach nichawach iseh l'Adonai v'niskehem chatzi hahin ichye lapar uslishi tahin la'ayil urvi'i tahin la'keves yain zot olat chodesh bechodsho lechodshei hashana useir izim echad lechatat l'Adonai al olat hatamid ye'aseh b'nisko. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Ya'amod Hari Iglarish Hamagbia V'Yamod Hari Levin Hagolel Sefer Sheni.
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael ki Adonai
Beyad Moshe Shema beni Musar avicha ואל תיטוש תורת אמך, שמע בני מוסר אביך, ואל תיטוש תורת אמך. תורה, תורה ציווה לנו משה, מורשה, מורשה, קהילת יעקב. תורה
בני
ציווה
אביך,
מורשה, מורשה, קהילת יעקב.
We can be seated. We're now going to turn to the Haftarah, which Sophia will introduce in just a moment. If you're looking at the newer Plaut Chumash, the one that looks like this one, you'll be, as Sophia will tell us, page 1492. If you're in the older version of the Plaut Chumash, page 1684. Either way, the special Haftarah for Shabbat Rosh Chodesh from the prophet Isaiah. And let's give you the brachot. Siddur. So first your introduction.
I will be reading verses 1 through 8 and verse 25 of the special Haftarah for Rosh Chodesh. Today is Rosh Chodesh Elul, which is the last Rosh Chodesh before Rosh Hashanah. The Haftarah that I'm reading is written by Deutero Isaiah, who is giving people who are exiled to Babylon hope. It can be found on page 1492. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar bin ve'im tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah uv'Moshe avdo uvinvi'eh ha'emet v'tzedek. Amen. Amar Adonai hashamayim kisi v'ha'aretz hadam raglai Eze bayit asher tivnu li ve'eze makom menuchati ve'et kol ele yadi asata vayihyu kol ele ne'um Adonai ve'el zeh abit elani unche ruach ve'chared al devari Shochet hashor makeish Zove yachaseh Oref kelev Ma'ale mincha dam chazir Mazkir levona Mevarech aven Gam hema Bacharu b'darchehem Uveshikutzehem Nafsham chafetza Gam ani evchar b'ta'alulehem ungurotam avi lahem ya'an karati ve'enone dibarti velo shameyu vayasu hara ve'enai uva asher lo chafatzti bacharu Shimu davar Adonai, hacharedim el davaro, amru, achechem sonechem menadechem, lema'an shemi yichbad Adonai, v'nir'eh v'simchatchem, v'hem yevoshu, kol sa'on me'ir, kol Mehechal kol Adonai Meshalem gamul le'oivav B'terem yavo, oh, B'terem tachil yalada, B'terem yavo chevel la, Vehimlita zachar, Misama kazot, Mira'a ka'ele, Hayuchal eretz, Beyom echad, Im yevaled goy, Pa'am echad, Ki chala, Gam yalda Tzion, Et b'neiha. V'haya midei chodesh b'chodesho, u'midei Shabbat b'Shabbato, yavo kol basar lehistachavot lefanai, Amar Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik bechol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, ha'medaber u'mkayem, shechol devarav emet b'tzedek. Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu, v'ne'emanim tevarecha, v'devar echad midvarecha, Achor lo yashuv rekam, ki el melech ne'eman, v'rachaman ata, baruch ata Adonai, ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav. Rachem al Tzion, ki hi beit chayinu, u'le'amcha Yisrael toshia, b'mheira b'yameinu, baruch ata Adonai, Mesamel Tzion bevanecha. Amen. Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu be'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha, b'mheira yavo ve'yagel libeinu, ve'yeshiv levavot el banim v'lev banim al avotam, uvetecha beit tefillah yikra lechol ha'amim, baruch ata Adonai, Mevi shalom la'ad. Amen. Al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu l'kedusha u'menucha lechavod u'tifaret. Al ha'kol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mevarchim otach. Yitbarach Shimcha befi kol chai, tamid le'olam ba'ed. Baruch ata Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. Yasher koach. And now Sophia becomes a teacher in our midst, and not just any teacher, but a Shemitah educator.
Shabbat Shalom. Parshat Re'eh talks about the laws that the Israelites must follow when they enter the Promised Land. Many of these laws are about people's relationship to the land and to all living things. Some of these laws are difficult for me to accept, like how you should punish someone by death if they want to convert to another religion, or how they must burn a town down and leave it in ruins if its inhabitants decide to practice another religion. But there are also many that I can easily understand. For instance, Shemitah, the time in which you let your land rest every 7 years and relieve debt, seems very logical to me. I'll explain why soon. If you didn't know, this year is a Shemitah year. In fact, it's almost the end of a Shemitah year, ending with Rosh Hashanah coming up soon. I was also interested to read many of the kashrut rules that are listed in this part of the Torah. As a person who loves animals and the environment, Shemitah and kashrut are great topics that connect to both of these interests. I love animals because they are so important to the environment, but also need our care and attention after our species may have made their lives harder. For example, bees are important for the environment because they pollinate flowers, and the flowers provide nourishment for the bees and help our environment look nicer. Let me explain why these rules are important. Shemitah is very important for nourishing the environment. One of the main features of the Shemitah laws calls for the land to rest, for farmers to refrain from working and thereby relieving the land. It gives the farmland a break, which is good for the soil, but there is still more. In this parsha, it talks a lot about the relieving of debt during the Shemitah year. This means that if someone is and struggling to pay for all their needs because of that burden, during the Shemitah year, their debt is forgiven and they can start fresh. Nowadays, some farms will symbolically relinquish ownership of the farmland for the Shemitah year, which allows them to sell the produce on a Shemitah year with a few modifications, including plowing their land before the year begins. For animals, the Shemitah year gives them rest as well, since they are not used for farming. Speaking of animals, kashrut, another central theme in this parsha, although not helping all animals, helps some particular pretty random animals, including a ton of birds, animals that don't have true hooves, fish that don't have scales, and more. The Torah protects many random species that you might not even think of, like a daemon, also known as a hyrax. If you don't know what a daemon is, imagine something closely related to elephants and sea cows and disguised as a marmot or a Himalayan rabbit. A species like that is something that you might not think of, but they're animals that have a life just like you and me, and most people don't even realize it. I appreciate that the Torah not only recognizes the daemon and the nighthawk and the white owl and the pelican and the hare and the buzzard, but also protects them. Rav Kook, the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Palestine, suggested that the kashrut rules are designed to remind us that we have taken a life to eat what we are eating and to make us hesitant and even feel guilty for doing so. Similarly, Rambam, aka Maimonides, said these laws were made so we would not learn to kill freely and inflict pain with no regret or concern for helpless animals. He says that these laws were intended to encourage mercy, respect, and kindness for the animals. The kashrut rules also say you shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. Now, this makes sense to me. It teaches us respect to both the kid and the mother. I wouldn't want a kid imagining itself cooking in its mother's milk, nor would I want a mother to know her kid would soon be cooked in her own milk. Knowing the milk is necessary to sustain the life of an animal, and then you put a dead animal in it, is so disrespectful. This is stated 3 times in the Torah, and they all say kid in its mother's milk. Therefore, it must be important and specific. So why won't people who keep kosher eat any meat with any milk? In Pirkei Avot, it says, make a fence around the Torah. This means we don't want to break the rules, so we make a fence around the central laws to make sure we don't break them. This is why we include chicken, for example. Even though it doesn't even produce milk, it could be mistaken for other meat. So what's my point? The Torah teaches many lessons. Some are disturbing, while others are easier to understand in our time. This includes some of the important lessons teaching us to help our environment. The Shemitah laws let farmland rest. In addition, the kashrut laws acknowledge and protect animals that we don't normally think of, as well as encouraging respect for the animals we do kill. Humans have been terrible for the environment by destroying animals' homes and contributing to global warming, but we have the ability to make a change, and we've already made some progress. I trust that every single one of us can make just the smallest change today. For my Mitzvah project, I will be donating as well as volunteering for DC City Wildlife. DC City Wildlife is an organization that protects and heals wild animals that live in or migrate through DC. This is the way I will make a change. If you would like to make a change by supporting DC City Wildlife, there is information in today's program, or you can ask me later how to contribute. The Torah will support us doing these amazing things that might not be hard for you, but might mean the world to an animal. Remember to respect the environment and everyone in it. Shabbat Shalom.
Yishar kochek, Sophia. I want to ask you to stay right here. Is it okay if I put this?
Yeah.
We want to have a few moments to celebrate with you and to celebrate you. And Rabbi Fred and I each have some brief words we'd like to say by way of blessing you, but also really hopefully speaking for the whole community and all the loved ones that are here with you. I'm gonna take my glasses off because there's just no way that I can keep them from fogging up today for some reason. Okay. So two things that I especially want to bless you with at this particular time in your life's journey, which we want to be a long and healthy one for you. Two things that come from this day. One is to hold on to the tradition of Rosh Chodesh. It's a nice tradition to mark each month, but what I'm really interested in is to know that there are times in your life when the bigger story of the people that you belong to, the Jewish people, will be an important guidepost for your own internal calendar. And so that even on a day when, if it wasn't Rosh Chodesh, we would have started the Haftarah with different words, with words describing the trauma we've been through as a people, sorry. We started today because it was Rosh Chodesh. No, instead, Hashamayim Kisi, as you said, the heavens are God's throne, and to feel connected to that all the time. The second thing I want to bless you with is from your own Torah reading. The Torah portrays this idea that there's going to be like this paradise of plenty when the children of Israel enter the land that they've been promised. But then it goes to great lengths to say, but in fact, there might not be plenty. And as you read in the Torah this morning, I have to put on my glasses for this. If there is one needy person among you, lo te'ametz et levavcha velo tikpotz et yadcha me'achicha ha'avyon. Does that sound familiar? You just read it just now.
Yeah.
I hope very much that you'll hold on to it.
Okay.
You have been born into an amazing family and into a family of plenty in so many ways. Emotional plenty, intellectual plenty, and even material plenty. And we have to hold on to this teaching. We have been given those blessings to keep our hand open to the ones who don't have enough, which there always will be. So I ask you to hold on to those things and invite Rabbi Fred to come forward also.
So related to that, I want to bless you in the words of a very wise 12-year-old that I was in conversation with back in the spring in a calmer moment in this process. And when asked what becoming bat mitzvah means, she said, and this is verbatim, to be a full member of the Jewish community, which gives me the responsibility of helping the world. Yeah, end quote. Love the exclamation point. And love the way that you have been putting those two together, just as the Jewish community and helping the world were in the same sentence for you in describing what it means to stand here. My blessing is that you fuse the Jewish and the universal, the personal and the activist all your life. And you have already begun to do so and to teach it so beautifully. And we can't wait to see where this will take you and take all of us. In the words of our tradition, and we're welcome to say, Ken yehi ratzon, so may it be, after each line. Yivarchech ya v'yishmerech, ya'er ya panav elaych v'chunek, yisa ya panav elaych v'yasem lach shalom. And we say together the blessing for reaching such a milestone. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov.
Simin Tovu, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Simin Tovu, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Yehelanu, 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 Ol Lachol Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ol Lachol Yoshvei Tevel, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ol Lachol Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ol Lachol Yoshvei Tevel.
Ask you to stay here on the bima as we come to the end of the Torah service. As we mentioned earlier, we are completing that visceral ritual of changing the Torah covers today. Want to ask you, we'll call forward our president, Shana Wager, for the honor of taking the third Torah from the scroll and helping to change that one. If everyone could please rise as you're able. And now to invite forward Carrie and Chris Ritchie. Sophia's aunt and uncle. It's okay, you don't. Just come forward and for the honor of closing the ark. And Sophia. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado. Odo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren me'amo, tilam lecho chasidav, livnei Yisrael.
Shivenu Elacha Vinashuva Kadesh Yamenu Shivenu Elacha Vinashuva Kadesh Yamenu Kekedem Yala la 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 Yala la 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 Yala la 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 ya ya la 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 Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Let's be seated. And before we come to our very closing prayers, turn with me back in the Siddur to page 832. I thought I had the whole mask and eyeglass thing worked out, but apparently not. Just to come to this one verse of the Psalm for Elul, whose melody we've already chanted a couple of times this morning, and now with the words. Achat sha'alti met Adonai ota havaker. Achat sha'alti met Adonai ota havaker. Shivti bebet Adonai kol yemei chayai. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני, לבקר בחלום. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בחלום. אחת שאלתי מת אדוני, אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מת אדוני, אותה אבקש.
We come near the end of our service, and in our custom, we offer the mourner's Kaddish before Aleinu, so that we end with the affirming that will be Sophia leading. As we turn our thoughts to those who are no longer with us, we are honored to welcome back Rabbi Sandy Rubenstein and Marie-Jeanne Lambert from the at the end of or through the latter part of the Shiva week, as Sandy remembers her dear mother, Lillian Cooper Smith. We acknowledge the many losses across our community in recent days and weeks and around the world, as well as those whose yahrzeits fall from this Shabbat through next. We remember Sandy Pearlstein's grandmother, Sophie Burstein, Harvey Fernbach's daughter, Geori, Amy Jaslow's grandfather, Jacob Carney, Jerry Robinson's mother, Lillian, Susan Kimmel's nephew, Gabriel Hirsch, Myrna Seidman's mother, Pauline, Vanessa Eisman's grandfather, Albert Gordon, Tal Wittes's father, Chaim Ben Dashan, Michael Gottlieb's grandmother, Goldie Stein, Jerry Kickinson's grandfather, David, Jonathan Epstein's mother, Florence Epstein. Chana Weisberger's aunts and grandfather, Leah and Lucia and Samuel Weisberger. Jonathan Cooper's father, Joseph. Barb Richmond's father, Manny Shore. Marta Barrison's son, Ezekiel Barnard. And Jorge Schrabstein's mother, Rosa. All who are in mourning or commemorating a yahrzeit are invited to rise, or as may be your custom, page 451, Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash me rabba, ve'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehesh me rabba mevorach leolam lalme almaya, v'yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei kudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlam rabba v'mitzvah v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, all of their memories, for a blessing. And Sophia comes back up to help lead us on page 445. We rise in spirit or in body.
Aleinu
Leshabeach
leshabeach
ladon hakol, latet ula leotzer breshit, shenatan lanu Torah temet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Anachnu korim, mishtakavim umodim, v'nei Amachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Teshamayim ve'yoser haaretz, u'moshav yekaro b'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinatu zo, begovhem beromim, hu Eloheinu enod, Emet Malkeinu Efesulato, Kakatu Betorato, Viadata Hayom, Vashivota Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, Bashamayim Mima'al, Ve'al haaretz mitachad enod. Hakatuv b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Yasher koach. Thank you.
Stay right up here. We may be seated. And picking up on our intergenerationality theme, honored to have our board member, R11, to offer words of greeting.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I am the last thing I think before the tots get all of this candy, so I will be brief. Shabbat Shalom to those of you in the room and on Zoom. We are so happy to have members and all of the guests from the amazing simchas we had today. Mazel tov, Sophia, and to the whole Daniels family, and to Ellie and Karen and Kevin and Marsha Teichman, David and Lily Nave, and the whole Teichman and Nave clan. I think these are for you, Sophia. Welcome as a member. You too can grow up. You too can grow up and join the board in 20 years. So really quickly, we've got a lot of stuff going on. I'm not going to run through it all. High holidays are on the way. Tomorrow morning, to prepare for that, we have Getting Ready for the High Holidays with Rabbi Avi Strasberg. Wonderful programming throughout. I think Naomi's going to be there. We also have an open house for new and prospective members, particularly those with young kids. We're going to be talking about Lamud, Tot Shabbat. So if you know families that would like to join or are looking for a great congregation, please send them to that open house. Additional information on that is on the website. We are also bringing back Oneg. Stay tuned. If you want to sign up, you're welcome to do that. Find Rena's email from this week. And I think with that, Shabbat Shalom, let the kids eat candy.
Yasher Koach, thank you. Come on up. Do not miss Rabbi Avi Strasberg tomorrow unless you're at the Beals for the open house. It's going to be amazing. An honor to welcome America and Israel together and so many communities, the Milton community, we've got some Fabrengen, we've got a whole mishpacha gathered, and it is absolutely beautiful. So thrilled to have you all with us. And we're back to our high attendance, exciting program year Shabbatot. So we don't ask everyone who's a visitor to stand and introduce themselves, but please, if you're a regular, introduce yourselves to people you don't know. And if you're not regular, introduce yourself to people. So we look forward to getting to know one another. We will head next door and also outside under the eaves for those who prefer for their coffee and bagel and whatnot. And those on Zoom will welcome you to stay in the room and have a virtual Oneg table of your own. So come on up. Page 465. And all the younger kids and the Tot Shabbat crew, can you come back? You don't have to just get the candy and leave. You can stay. Would you like to join us?
No, I don't think they got any candy.
No. We'll make sure. We'll hook you up. Come on up.
Please
Yay.
rise.
Hashem?
Yeah, go ahead, take your Kiddush cup.
V'shamru
Bnei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם.
ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם,
אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים עשה Adonai, Asa Adonai,
את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות הברית עולם.
וביום השביעי שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש,
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות הברית עולם.
על כן ברך אדוני את היום השבת ויקדשהו, סברי חברי
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן.
Amen.
Anyone else? Challah time. You want to come all the way over here? Here we go. Come. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam, ha'otzi lechem min haaretz
B'te'avon. B'te'avon. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Mazal tov. Sophia, can I give you a hug?
Yes, and now you guys get to be.
I hope you feel great. Enjoy all the celebrating.
I really don't know where that last page of my half Torah went.
Yeah, that's the problem of having loose pages, but it's no problem.
Shabbat Shalom, Marilyn, Arthur, who else is with us? Steve, David, Orit, Erica, Alina, Judy, Deb. Oh, Jan and Gary, hi. Quentin, Natalie, David. How's everyone doing? Hello?
Well, here in Arlington, Virginia, thanks for asking.
Arit, your father is ill? You're muted, Marilyn. You're muted.
Is that unmuted?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to wish the family and of everyone who was up there today a mazel tov, and especially to Sophia and the family, all of whom we really love. And it was just a beautiful thing, and I was a thrill to be able to witness it. Thank you very much.
That was great. Are there family members on the Zoom right now? Arthur, if your wife is talking, we can't hear her because you're muted.
Who's communicating from the furthest distance from the synagogue?
We're so happy to be able to witness this beautiful bat mitzvah on the computer. We're really sorry we couldn't be there with the family in person, but unfortunately we can't travel so far. But we wish the whole family mazel tov, and to Sophia and her parents and family, and especially her wonderful grandparents who we're very close to, Ellie and Mel. They should have a lot of nachas from Sophia and her brother and the family, and enjoy the kiddush, enjoy the party, and we wish you were there. We were there to
Celebrate many simchas.
celebrate with you.
Where are you? Where are you now?
Yeah, well, we're in Lakewood, New Jersey. Yes, we just moved from Staten Island, and now we're in Lakewood.
I believe my nephew is going to a yeshiva there.
Oh,
Do I have the right community? Is this a community where there is a high concentration of the Orthodox?
Yes,
That's
yes,
right.
yes, that's for sure.
Okay, well, my sister, their family is Lubavitch.
Wait, he's
many
talking.
simchas, Mazal Tov.
Yeah, what was he saying about his sister?
Oh, my sister, their family is Lubavitch, and their 15-year-old son attends a yeshiva, drives over from Bucks County, Newtown, Pennsylvania, drives to Lakewood, New Jersey to bring him to school every day.
Oh.
Every day. I don't know. There may be some carpooling. Hopefully there's some carpooling.
Crazy. I wonder why they don't stay.
So I hope everybody is well as these times allow.
Right.
And stay safe.
You can just start speaking.
Judy, are you a relative of the family, and where are you joining us from?
Yes, my husband Dave is Ellie Goldstein's brother. So we are the great aunt and uncle to Sophia. And we certainly would have enjoyed being there. We had, unfortunately, a major conflict, but they know we wish them the best and love to all.
And Sophia did a marvelous job. And it was good to see Ellie and Mel and Jody and Adam and Jonah on the Bema. And we just had a wonderful time with it. And God bless them all, had the wonderful thing. And, thank God for Zoom.
Indeed.
Easier.
It's great to live in a time where these events can be shared virtually to those who would have difficulty traveling. But we often have these kinds of events with family and friends scattered around the globe.
And this is being recorded, so she will have access to all your greetings. Is there anybody else from the family who want to say something?
I would. This is Deb Kessler.
Go ahead,
Hey,
Deb.
Hi, I'm Jody's first cousin, and my husband Lou and I are in California. We were not able to attend in person, but it's been wonderful to be able to participate in yet another Daniel mitzvah, since we Zoomed for Jonah's, unfortunately, but Sophia did a beautiful job and we were happy to participate even virtually. Mazel tov.
Hi, Deb.
Shabbat shalom, and Shabbat shalom to you. Welcome to our congregation.
Thank you.
She did a wonderful job. Is there anybody else who wants to say something from the family?
Well, we love you very much. Let's stay to the end.
Or maybe somebody has a unrelated mitzvah or great news to share. Anyone? I sit tight waiting to become a grandparent this December with my son and daughter-in-law who live in San Jose, California, to produce the first grandchild for me and for Sandy. And we're looking forward to that.
Mazel tov
Mazel
to
tov.
you. It's a wonderful club to belong to.
So I hear that it will be a whole different new phase of life, grandparenting,
Yes.
and I'm trying to through our men's support group, I've asked the fellow grandparents amongst us to share their do's and don'ts. So trying to instill some of those in my preparation.
It's a time to start getting younger.
I'm wishing them a healthy baby and an easy birth.
Thank you so much. My son's birth was in the Netherlands, and it was not necessarily a easy one, but he came out as a in a preemie ward. He was not premature, but because they needed to keep an eye on him, they needed to keep him there, and was with 2 other preemie babies. And my son was 9 pounds 3 ounces. And the Dutch fathers who came in to see their premature babies, they would look at him and they nicknamed him the grote bear, which means the big bear. So we came back from Holland with our little Dutch boy at age 1. And now he's giving me a grandson, or granddaughter, I should say, sorry.
Mazel tov.
Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Have a good holiday.
Same to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Steve, are you going to go out for the happy occasion?
So Sandy and I are discussing the challenge around that, given that one cannot, she's going to have a natural birth. The due date is the first night of Hanukkah, December 18th. We plan to be out there for Thanksgiving. We've been invited to my son's, the Machatonim. My son's in-laws own a home in Carmel Valley, which is a beautiful stretch of California. And we're going to be going there for Thanksgiving, and also having opportunity to visit our daughter who's in grad school at UCLA in the LA area. So we'll make a California visit around Thanksgiving. And then the question is, do we stay and wait for the birth, or do we come back here or does one of us stay and does one of us come back? My son and daughter-in-law would love for us to be there in the weeks and after the baby to help out in some ways. But I'm on the fence because I feel somewhat that the birth moment is a very intimate and personal moment that perhaps should be shared by my son and daughter-in-law, and that we don't necessarily need to be there in person for that, and we should maybe come back afterwards. But there's another opinion on that, and we're going back and forth discussing it and seeing what the airfare is like and how that will all play out. So
well, I'm
hopefully
sure
that's
Sandy,
the only thing we have to wrestle with, and nothing more severe.
I'm sure Sandy has her own ideas about that, having given birth so far away from family.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Yeah. Although the Dutch system was very great, even though Sandy was in a hospital, and midwives were very common, and maybe still are in Holland. But given that she was a bit older, an older mom having a first child, and also being an American where we had plenty of health insurance, she was in a hospital. But their philosophy is you leave the hospital as soon as you and the baby are able to health-wise, and they provide nurse care up to 24/7 in your home for the first couple weeks, or however long you need it. So the idea is discharged from hospital quickly. So she came home about the second or third day, and we had a nurse who came to check on Sandy and teach us how to care for our baby in our own home with our own facilities and wash basin and etc. and make sure that we would even cook and clean if we needed it, so that the two of us could focus on becoming parents. So it's a very humane system, one that I.
Wow, wow. Too bad we don't have that here.
Yeah, yeah. We should emulate the best practices of different places, I'm sure.
Well, I can't speak from my own experience, but I have many friends who had a hard time when they first got home from the hospital with their babies. Even though they were healthy, the baby was healthy, they just felt overwhelmed, even with the help of their husbands.
Yeah, and that's, in fact, that's part of the philosophy, is whatever you need, whether it's health care or whether it's simply the extra pair of hands that will do everything, so that all you need to focus on is recovering and time with the baby and learning. That's the philosophy, and worrying about putting meals on the table or keeping the house clean or that sort of thing is part of the system to support you during those earliest weeks.
Well, you can discuss with them the best way for you to support them in those weeks. As far as the intimacy of the birth itself, you don't have to be at the hospital in the room with them when it happens, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's definitely not going to be. I mean, maybe we'll be at the hospital that if we happen to be out there, but certainly not in the room. Doing that for my two children was enough for me.
Marilyn, do you have any tips?
You say Marilyn?
Yes, you have tips?
Well,
Great.
I will say this much. It is an intimate thing, but it's also one of the most remarkable, amazing things. And I have 3 children. My husband was not with me with the first 2 because they didn't allow it. The third one, he was. And I have to tell you, he never had more appreciation for me and his new child ever than witnessing this. So it's something that's kind of irreplaceable. I have to say something else also. There are a lot of countries, a lot of places in the world that offer certain things that we don't have here. On the other hand, we have a lot more than they have there. And I happen to know a lot of people from Holland. And while they do have good medical care and certain things that are free to them, try to buy a house in Holland. You're on waiting lists. You may wait your whole life. Several generations live in very small homes that belong to great grandma. It's not that easy. So it's a give and take everywhere, and that's what grandparents are for, honestly. And family. I took care of I have 8 grandchildren and actually 9. And I took care of all of them. And it was a thrill. It was a pleasure. And, my mother helped me. That's what
Marilyn, were you living in the same area as your grandchildren, or did that involve extensive travel?
involved travel. 2 of them lived in North Carolina. I live in New Jersey. And well, it's just, it's something you want to do. I wanted to do it. It was like my thrill. And
Any do's or don'ts you wish to, looking back on it with 20/20 eyesight?
well, try not to interfere with, but help, just help. Be there when they need you. Do some cooking, cleaning, stay up at night with the baby, whatever you can do to help. And a little advice, I have to say, I don't overly interfere in my children's lives, but they told me later that they really appreciated the help and the advice that I gave them, because they don't really know a lot. Neither did I. My mother was there for me and my mother-in-law. And so help as much as you can. That's all. It will be appreciated. And love, of course. Those grandchildren, you have no idea what's in store for you. It's
And what about the advice I've often gotten to know how to keep your mouth shut?
Well, that's true too, but there are times when they could use a little advice, and if they ask for it, give it, and
Yeah, that's one of the main, what I've been told is when they ask for it, that's the time to that you can offer. And but even be careful, because sometimes they may ask and not really want it.
I have to say something, by the way, that I meant to say before. I don't think I've ever seen anyone conduct a service. It's incredible. I do not speak Hebrew, but it seemed to me that Sophia did a perfect job, flawless. And I know that if you talk about grandparents, Ellie and Mel live with grandchildren. So if you want to know what it's like to be grandparents, just talk to Ellie and Mel a little bit. They just adore those children, and the sun rises and sets in your grandchildren. It really does.
So that's
Sophie.
Ellie and Mel are Sophie's grandparents.
Yes, on Jody's side, the mother's side. And
Well,
they adore those kids, and so does the other grandmother. But I'm very close friends with Ellie and Mel, and I know that every day of their lives they're doing something or thinking about or whatever of their grandchildren. And you'll do the same.
Well, Sophie's, if she sees this, because it's still recording, she was so impressive that my husband, who was only listening with half an ear to the service, perked up on her Devar Torah. He was so impressed.
I think she did. As I said, I've seen kids stumble, and also she was clear. You could understand every word. She spoke loud enough. She was great, which we all knew she would be. But
And she clearly read her portion and took it inside and made it her own when she saw what the wisdom that she could impart and share from her perspective and how it spoke to her, which is, it's always great when a bar bat mitzvah has that moment of teaching which shows something true of their character.
A lot of character, and I can attest to the fact that there's a lot of wisdom and intellectual ability in that family, and nurturing, to the max. So these are very fortunate children.
It's great.
And I wish them the best of everything.
So I'm sorry.
I'm going to sign off, but
Yeah,
Marilyn,
it
was a pleasure to talk to you and to meet on Zoom other family members. And I think you are all blessed to have each other. Shabbat Shalom.
So Shabbat Shalom. I'm going to close the Zoom. Have a pleasant day. Bye.
Same to you.